Welcome back. Today's video is going to be about cameras, and of course there is really no such thing as the perfect camera. So whether you're starting out getting a camera for the first time, or you're working with the camera you have, or you're looking for basically a new camera, you know, like many of us, we look over YouTube and the internet to see if we can find anything that suits our fancy, has the features we want, and whether or not the brand we like already is what we want to go with, or maybe switch brands. In my case, I actually switched to, or I should say switch back to Lumix, having started out on the GH5 a few years ago, having shot a feature film with the GH5. I really came to like the colors and the skin tones especially. Then I switched to Sony, and of course that was for the autofocus. But now, shooting now with the Lumix S5 Mark II, Lumix is pretty much caught up as far as I'm concerned with autofocus. Of course, you're going to have different opinions about which one is still quote-unquote better, but I think for the most part, I think they both operate pretty equally. Especially if, you know, your subject is properly lit. I've seen some videos, and this is on the topic of getting the most out of your camera and testing it. I've seen videos where the person talking on camera is not well lit. I even saw one video where the guy was literally in shadow and the sun was behind him, and he was wondering why the autofocus wasn't doing so well. He was, I mean, his face was almost completely dark. There was very little light on his face. And yet, of course, you know, I think most cameras, when your subject is not well lit, the autofocus will struggle. But anyway, back to the main topic of testing your camera to get the most out of it. You know, a lot of us look for certain features when we're looking for a camera. And maybe there's features that without them, it would be a deal breaker for you. For instance, as an example, the Lumix S9, when it first came out, you know, people were up in arms about the fact that it didn't have a headphone jack. For my uses, I've never really used a headphone jack. When I shot my feature film with the GH5, I've used a field recorder. So I synced the audio in post, and most of the time the audio coming out, being recorded by the camera's internal mics, was enough to sync the audio in post. So that was, you know, that was covered. But even still, you know, like when I got this camera, as I'm focusing on this video today, I think it's important to shoot tests. And as I did with this camera, I shot a lot of tests. You know, when we first get a camera, of course, we want to take it out of the box, immediately run outside or wherever and start shooting with it because we're so excited. We got it, it's great, it's what we wanted. But I think it's important to also shoot tests when I first get a camera. That's what I've been doing for a long time now. No matter how excited I am about the camera, especially, you know, with getting a new camera or maybe switching systems. But either way, when I get the camera, of course, I'm excited as well. And I want to just get amazing work out of it. But that's why I do tests. That's where the tests come in, so I can better understand the camera and, of course, the lenses I'm using, so that I can get the most out of the camera itself and out of whatever content I'm shooting. So for me, like the headphone jack of the S9, you know, I think when you do tests, you can take care of that. You can find out what you need for your audio. Most of the time, like I'm doing right now, I'm using the Hollyland Lark M2 in this particular case to record it's a wireless audio system to record the audio to my camera. And the receiver, of course, is plugged into the camera. So the audio goes directly to the video. And of course, in post, you know, I might tweak it a little bit, but for the most part, what I've got out of this M2 transmitter is pretty good audio. But of course that came from the testing. And I do the same with the video side. You know, I test it, I see what I can push it at. I try the different ISOs, as in this case, the S5 Mark II has a dual base of 640 as the lower base and 4000 as the upper ISO base ISO. And yeah, for me, what I get out of this camera, it's very clean. The colors are great, skin tones. So after the testing, you know, I came to find ways to get the most out of the image and the audio. I've used this M2 before on other videos, and that's how I found out that I can use it again and get quality audio out of it. And that's the key, is to no matter what features I think I need for a camera, ultimately it comes down to getting to understand your camera so you can get the most out of it. So that's where I think, you know, shooting tests when you first get it is really important. And after you do your tests, you can start trying out new techniques, whether it's sounds that you want to, maybe recording stock sounds you want to use later, or just trying to improve the audio that you're recording, maybe get a better audio sound for your voice recordings. But I mean, that's what it comes down to, is just testing. And if you color grade, then you can use, you know, I use DaVinci Resolve for color grading, and sometimes occasionally I'll use a LUT just to see what it looks like. And more recently, I've actually found some LUTs that I actually like. Most of the time, if I do use a LUT, it's usually a Rec 709, which means just a straight up basic color correction LUT, just to make the video or the colors look normal, like the colors you see with your eyes. I found Cabral Creates is a guy, that's the name of his YouTube channel as well, and he sells these LUTs, which for me is the first time I came across LUTs that I actually want to use. Because for me, what he has done with his color grades is that he makes the footage look interesting. I think it's kind of makes it kind of exciting to see what I can capture, because I know with these LUTs I can get some pretty nice looks. And I'm the kind of person who usually would rather learn how to color grade myself, and I'm always doing that. That's one thing I'm always working on, is continuing to improve my ability to color grade my own footage. But in the meantime, you know, for fun I can use these LUTs, or for situations where I could see using these LUTs in particular for projects of my own. Now for YouTube, in this case, I have a specific setting that I use for recording, because I have an old iMac Pro. I have like one of the first ones that came out 7 years ago. So I'm definitely due for a new computer, hopefully like an M4 chip Mac or something like that. I'm a Mac guy, so as far as video goes, I'll be using Macs. But to make the video easier to edit and work with on my old computer, I record in 10-bit 420 to an MP4 format. And the reason I do that is because it's enough of flexibility. There's enough room in the 10-bit file to still color grade it without, you know, having to worry about how it's going to look, especially since YouTube is going to compress it quite a bit anyway. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I do, and for me it's easier to work with. I can put effects on it and color grade it, and I get to edit it pretty quickly without having to worry about, you know, waiting for the playback to catch up. And the reason why I do that is because especially for YouTube, most of the people view YouTube videos and such on their smartphones. So I don't need to go crazy with, you know, the sharpness, or, you know, too much. Well, I mean, of course I want my images sharp, but I know I don't have to go too crazy as far as the resolution goes, because on a smartphone, regardless if it's an iPhone Pro Max or whatever, it's still just a smartphone. It's not a movie screen. And I also, speaking of another resolution-related topic, is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which for me it's a great little camera. I mean, it's a camera with a built-in gimbal, and that shoots 10-bit 422 as well. And the reason why I bring that up is because you can also shoot vertical videos with the Osmo Pocket 3. Yeah, I can shoot vertical with this S5 Mark II as well. But when you shoot the vertical with the Osmo Pocket 3, it goes down to 3K. And I've heard people complain about that. But then I have to think to myself, I'm like, well, 3K when it's viewed on a smartphone is still really good. Because when you think about it, when you're in a movie theater, that's in 4K. And you're talking like, a big screen that's like 30, 40 feet wide. And that's in 4K. So if you're looking at your smartphone, and especially a vertical video, and you're worried about 3K or less, 3K, that's pretty much overkill, and for it to be realistic here, for what you're seeing on your phone, on your cell phone. Even if you have like a Pro Max or whatever, you're still looking at a smartphone. And it's way sharper on a little phone than you're ever going to see, even if you see that on a theatrical screen. Because before digital movies, before theaters went digital, we had film. And for most movie theaters, the movies you saw projected from film were literally no more than 2K in truth. When you look at the actual resolution and grain and size of the frame, you're looking at about 2K for many, many years. And you're also looking at a lot of films that were projected over the years before digital film came along. The images were grainy, and that was, that wasn't a big deal. But now it's like people get all really flustered when they see noise in their film, forgetting that before them, movie screens had a lot of films that had so-called noise, known as grain, as you know. So yeah, it's I find it surprisingly strange to complain about something that is actually quite common in movies and film and TV before digital cameras came along. And when you think about it, a lot of productions actually add grain back in. I've worked on films where we did that, where the director wanted something more gritty, so we actually added grain back on top of a very clean image. And this is specifically to achieve that film look. And then there's also slow motion. A lot of people want to shoot slow motion. For me, I shoot it sometimes occasionally, mostly just for kind of fun to see what it looks like. I haven't done it for a project yet. Obviously, I probably will someday do that for a project, for a specific scene or use. Yeah, it's not that important for me as far as filmmaking goes, and for the kind of stuff I like to do. Slow motion is an occasional choice. In the end, when it comes all down to it, after testing your cameras, testing the features, finding out which you get the most out of the camera you get. If it has something, if you still end up getting a camera where you wish it had A or B, which if you wish it had certain features, but you settled for this particular one anyway, I just recommend just working with it, seeing what you can get out of it. And the key is just to start creating, that's why I made this channel. I wanted to start sharing my ideas. Hopefully, maybe like with this video, I share my opinions. These are just my views. You don't have to agree with them. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just sharing my views. But I hope, I can help people think about what they're going to do with their cameras. Really focus on getting the most out of what they get or what they have. And the key is create. You have a great tool in your hand. Most of the cameras you get today, and even some of them that are already at the used market level, you can find some great cameras there. And the quality of the images and the footage that you get out of them is pretty astonishing. And most of them, I would say, or a lot of them, you could probably shoot a film with and show it in a theater, and your audience would be fine with whatever you shot, because the quality is already there. It's just a matter of you finding the story. And in the end, That's what it really comes down to. It's like the story of this video is you get a camera, you want to create with it, you go through the motions of learning how to get the most out of it, to get the best of it, to get the best out of it, so that you can create your projects, maybe for clients, maybe for yourself, or for a film you want to share eventually. But the idea is that at the end, does your content convey the story you want to tell? Are you telling people the things you think they want to hear, or hopefully that will help them? I'm hoping with my channel that we can converse with each other. If you have other ideas, other things you want to talk about regarding film, or like in this case, cameras, if there's something that I didn't cover, please let me in the comments. Let me know now in the comments what other things you want to hear about, or you think should be considered, especially when it comes to looking for a camera, getting the camera. So anyway, I hope you got something out of that. If you're still here watching this, thank you very much for letting me share. Thanks for listening, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.